Hi guys, this is Amy Kohler and April Nylander coming to you for Green Thursdays here at Dakota College at Botno. If you guys, just a reminder for everyone, this is our last of our May Thursdays doing our farm series tours with farms, the organization that helps out new and beginning farmers. So this is one of our last videos with them, but I believe we'll still try to continue our Green Live Thursdays after this week. I think what we'll probably do is they may not be as long, we'll see, but April and I will still try to come up with some different things, some tours, and just kind of keep you guys, get some interesting things that are going on in DCB Greenhouse and DCB Farm throughout the summer. Even though I know a lot of we started this kind of as a way to keep people busy while they're quarantined, I think we're having a lot of fun with it, so we're going to keep up with it. But anyways, I digress. Today, April and I, mostly April, are going to give you guys a little tour of the greenhouse, the high tunnel, some of the high tunnels we have here on campus. And then we're also going to introduce you to a new type of forest product that can be used as a nutrient supplement and nutrient. What was the word that DK was trying to get?
Regeneration.
Sorry, nutrient regeneration supplement called Biochar, and we'll explain a little bit how Biochar can be utilized and how we utilize it here on DCB.
We'll be touching on some compost tea as well.
Yes, and compost tea, where we use the Biochar.
Yep.
So yeah, we're having a lot of fun. Little tour and information for you guys today. So hopefully you'll have just as much fun with us as well. All right, so let me just switch this over, and April will take over the show. All right, April.
Hey guys, I'm April. It's a chilly spring day out today, but here in our high tunnel, it's really warm. Normally we'd have things planted already, but we are focusing on selling to Sodexo, our on-campus cafeteria service, and Botno Public School this year. Hopefully school will be in session and we will be able to provide them with delicious, nutritious, fresh produce grown right here at DCB. So we didn't need to get our stuff in so early this year since it doesn't need to be ready until fall. We have 8 high tunnels similar to this, some varying sizes. This is our organic high tunnel. We're currently not certified organic, but we will be pursuing that. High tunnels are great. They're season extenders. Not only that, you can extend your season a few weeks on both ends, but your degree days are longer in a high tunnel. So you can actually, what I have found is you can triple to quadruple your harvest in a high tunnel. Same soil, just because it's retaining this heat. It uses no electricity, it's just passive solar heat. But so this square footage in here is really valuable, and here in North Dakota we struggle with growing a lot of the warmer season crops like your tomatoes, your peppers, eggplant, okra, basil really loves it in here, melons, cucumbers, those sorts of crops, and those are typically your higher value crops. So that's usually what's grown in here, but I've also found things like cabbage and carrots, and a lot of other crops also enjoy high tunnel. But since the square footage is so expensive, really we want to try and maximize our profit however we can. So we focus on the warm season crops. You typically get, I would say, 3 degrees of protection overnight, more if the humidity is high. So if you know you're going to be expecting a frost, you can water pretty heavily before. That's going to give you a little bit more protection. Yeah, high tunnels are a great thing. There are grant programs available also through NRCS if you're a small farmer and want a high tunnel of your own. That's how I got started when I was farming for myself. I applied for an NRCS grant and got that. So it's a great program out there for beginner farmers. High tunnels. What else? Okay, so since this footage in here is so valuable, we typically grow our crops up if we can. A lot of the crops, like tomatoes and cucumbers, they naturally want to vine up anyways. We don't have any planted right in here right now. This high tunnel is going to be melons this year, so I'll probably let them sprawl. But like last year, we had tomatoes growing right here, so we would just plant them in these holes, and we have these neat little clips. So you get your plant started and you go right underneath a leaf and pinch the string in the corner of that little bracket. And then you're going to prune off any suckers. So instead of letting your tomato go wild and just kind of grow into a crazy jungle bush, you want to trim off any of your suckers and train it up to one stem. And you're just going to keep adding these clips. And these tomatoes, they will reach the top of here by the end of the summer. But these are actually on a reel, so you can squeeze them and release more string. And typically you'd prune off your bottom leaves as the plant gets older. It's not really getting anything out of those bottom leaves. It's sucked all the nutrition out of them. They're usually starting to turn yellow anyways. So you prune those bottom leaves off and you can actually lay your stem down on the ground and just keep on growing up.
If you guys remember last week when we talked about the aquaponics and we were in the aquaponics room, we had some tomatoes that were growing hydroponically, but it's the same idea. Instead of having the plant in a bucket at the bottom, it's just we have the plant directly in the soil here in the high tunnel, and we grow them up the stem. Those really long, tall cherry tomato plants. Just imagine that here out in a high tunnel in soil.
Yeah, so a lot of people wonder what the difference between a high tunnel and greenhouse is. This uses no electricity, it's just the sun. Typically in a greenhouse you're going to be growing in pots or something of that nature. In a high tunnel normally you'd be growing right in the ground here. So your soil health is important. It's important to take good care of your soil. What I like to do is we try several methods here at DCB Farm. We are
Sustainable.
well, we're sustainable. We're a demonstration farm.
There we
so
go,
we
yeah.
like to try different methods so small producers can, see what's working and what's not working for us. And believe me, we've tried a lot that doesn't work, but there's some good ones in here too. So what I like to do is put a cover crop down and make sure our nutrient levels are as high as they can be, and we try to get away from as much plastic use as we can, but I also understand it is a necessity sometimes, and with time and labor is money.
Yep.
So
And weeding takes a lot of
yeah,
time.
I'm a big fan of this landscape fabric. We will get several years of use out of this. We'll just poke new holes as needed, and when it gets too worn out, we'll eventually rip it up and probably do a cover crop. We also have currently one high tunnel in no-till. That one last year we did a deep mulch method with alfalfa. We got some horse quality alfalfa hay that had gotten rained on, so it was no longer horse quality. We got a good deal on it, and I thought, alfalfa is a legume. It's really high nitrogen, so we laid that down really thick and it decomposed. It kept a lot of moisture in our soil. It really brought the soil back to life. There were a lot of worms in the soil by the end of the summer, and it kept
The weeds down.
It kept our weeds down. Yeah, you're still gonna get some weeds, and we did have to make a second application through summer, but nothing is ever 100% perfect. There's always downfalls to every method, and our deep mulch method, as much as I loved it and it improved our soil, we did have slugs. They loved that organic matter breaking down also, so that was definitely a downfall of that approach. This year I'm going to do a couple more high tunnels in cover crop and no-till. We were just approved for a composting grant, so we may even do some in a deep litter method with composted wood chips and that sort of thing. And you don't till those in; they just lay it right on top of the soil, and that's going to increase your fungal activity more than the bacterial activity in your soil. Fungus and bacteria can form really good symbiotic relationships with plants, so we want to invite them in however we can. And we'll talk about that in a minute with our biochar. Did I get everything?
I think so.
Okay, mostly.
So I guess to go back a little bit with our specialty crop focus area in our horticulture program, A lot of sadly, with specialty crop production, we do some in the greenhouses, but a lot of times with students that are trying to focus in specialty crops here on campus, they have to spend the summer here with us. We have internship options, we have summer worker help options, because specialty crops are usually grown in the summer months. And so these high tunnels we use here on campus are some of the great learning experiences and learning grounds for our students learning about specialty crop production, which again is vegetable and fruit production.
If you're interested in coming to DCB and joining some of our programs, there are opportunities for internships and for you to actually get a job here for the summer growing vegetables. Lots of hands-on work.
Lots of hands-on experience.
We're going to head out this way. It's a lot colder out here.
If you walk outside, this is the great thing about high tunnels. It was probably a good 10 or 15 degrees warmer in that high tunnel than it is out here. It's probably about in the low 60s in here, and would you say it's probably almost 80 degrees in there?
Probably. And you wouldn't want to plant tomatoes and frost sensitive stuff like that too early in a high tunnel, unless you're willing to cover them up with frost blanket every night. I don't feel it's that advantageous to get hot, heat-loving crops in early. But if you have enough time or enough space in your high tunnel and you can get some cold crops in super early.
Like spinach, radishes, lettuces.
You know, as early as late March or April, you could have just about be harvesting some cabbage and that sort of thing out of your high tunnel this time of year.
And if we have anyone watching from maybe some warmer climates, we're talking right here in Botno and North Dakota, we're mostly zone 3 or 4. But if you're living in an area that we're talking zone 5, 6, or even 7, you might be able to actually do some production in your high tunnels almost year round.
Yeah.
Especially with like your spinach and things that are very frost tolerant. You could easily, I mean, if you're not getting much below, if you're only getting down into the 20s on as your lowest degree temperatures during the winter months, you could still be producing lettuce and spinach in your high tunnel almost year round, or very little supplemental heat.
It brings me to another point that I forgot to mention. Another reason crops do so well in these, yeah, we should get a shot of the outside here, is that it's protected from the wind. Here in North Dakota, we have brutal storms and wind. It's not getting the wind. Your plants aren't getting thrashed around by hail and rain and wind. The plastic, however, will get weathered. They generally say 3 to 5 years plastic life on these. 5 would really be a stretch. It's kind of a luck of the draw sort of deal. I know some high tunnels that are 8 years old that still have the original plastic on them, not in good condition, but good enough to use.
And if you guys notice, you'll see some wires on the side, and you can see there's a pole right along the bottom. Those sides up to about here will roll up. So yeah, so right now we said it's 60 degrees out here. It's 80 degrees in there. Can you imagine how hot it'd be in there if we had everything shut up? If it was 80 degrees out here, it'd be almost too hot in there. So the nice thing about high tunnels is they have the sides that allow them to roll up, so you can have that ventilation to keep some things still somewhat cool in your high tunnel production, because you don't want things to get over 90 degrees, because once temperatures get above 90 degrees, plants get stressed.
You do have to be careful. I do watch the weather. If we're going to expect some really nasty winds or storms, I have to make sure that these are rolled down. You can also wire the sides down, so it's really not going to go anywhere. That's also why we have these ropes. The billow cords is what you would call these, because the sides will kind of tend to go in and out. I'll just roll this up real quick and I'll kind of show you now. And they're all built a little differently. This is the only model we have like this one. But see, it's pretty easy to roll up. I like these with the plastic on the bottom because you're not getting some brutal winds and stuff in right on your baby plants. Most high tunnels I haven't seen this kind of baseboard of plastic, but I'm a huge fan of that. We'll head over this way. We have our apple trees are all in bloom.
Woohoo! These trees are really old. I'd say 30, 40 years old.
So Anyone know what this is? Choke cherry. Yeah.
Yummy.
They don't taste good raw, but if you make them into jelly or syrup,
They're
awesome.
pretty good.
So in addition to our 7 high tunnels, we're going to build a small 8th one this summer. We have 3 outdoor plots this size, 50 by 100. This year is going to be our kind of a trial of CBD hemp out here. Over on this side, I'm not sure. I think that the trees tend to suck a lot of nutrition and water away from the rest of the garden, so that might just be cover crop the trees there, or we might just return it to grass. We'll show you our lath house building real quick. This used to be North Dakota,
This building was built in the 40s.
U.S. Forest Service. There's some debate on that. Someone told me 1960.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, it used to be a lath house where the U.S. Forest Service grew their seedlings.
For the trees.
Yep, for trees. Had wood lath on it. That's been long gone. But we've kind of repurposed the structure and use it as a high tunnel also. It's not actually a high tunnel. We're hoping to maybe...
And an outdoor aquaponics facility as well. So if you guys watched last week's video, this should look familiar. I had a young woman in aquaculture and hydroculture camp, where a group of high school girls came here for a 3-day camp, and they built this outdoor aquaponics growing system, which was pretty cool.
Right now we have our goldfish and koi in that tank. They're going to go live in an outdoor pond on campus soon, and we will have tilapia out.
And this is what we've been using this spring for our plant sale. So if you're in the Botno area, our plant sale is still going.
And there's Cody from the Forest Service. You may recognize him from a previous video.
Yep.
Okay, we'll walk around this way and talk about biochar. Oh, fires.
The hazards of working on a farm, right?
Here's some of our alfalfa hay that we use for mulch. Good and rotten. Probably not the best for humans to be breathing, but lots of life in here. It smells alive. So that's what we used as our no-till mulch. And this year we're going to try some different things with cover cropping also. We're going to try a living mulch. When we have our hemp plants in here, there's going to be a living mulch in between the hemp plants. That's going to suppress weeds for us. The hemp plants will be in a slightly raised bed covered with black plastic, but in between those rows we might do something in ryegrass, something that we can just mow down. Okay, so this looks like a giant fire pit, right? It basically is, I guess. This is our biochar kiln. It was donated by the North Dakota Forest Service to us. Why don't we stand back and get a good view of this thing. So we've only used it one time so far. But biochar is basically what is burned in a low oxygen environment. You want all your chunks to be the same size, ideally. You light the fire from the top, and that's going to eat up the oxygen and keep it as a low oxygen fire. When your biochar gets to the point where you want it, okay, which would be similar to this, then you quench it really fast. So we have a big water tank that we add. Basically charcoal, but charcoal is really high in pH, and here in North Dakota we tend to have highly alkaline soil, so you do want to make sure you do this right and are a little cautious with it. Do your homework before you just start throwing charcoal in your garden, please.
Don't throw charcoal in your garden, please.
Don't do that.
That's some charcoal.
The quenching process is going to leach out some of the alkalinity as well, and then we drain the water out. But last year, after we drained the water out of this, it was full. It did not kill any of our grass, even the alkaline water that came out, so that's a good sign. Anyways, what you end up with is a chunk of charcoal, right? It's really lightweight, really porous. So you've burned out everything that can burn in that. It's a good place for bacteria and fungus to live. So what we do is inoculate this. We'll talk about that in a little bit here. But it's going to change your soil structure a little. This will stay in your soil for 10 to 20 years. That's why I say you want to do it right. 5 to 10% is generally the range that it's added into your soil. It's going to help retain moisture too.
And it pretty much what it does, you guys, is so in your soil, to have a good, healthy, living soil, you have to have something to break down the dead matter into the nutrients to the form that plants can eat and use. But those organisms, that bacteria that break down those dead leaves and dead matter and dead organic matter in your soil, need a place to live and need crevices and places to attach. And that biochar creates those space and spores, so you have higher populations of that good microorganisms and bacteria. And of course, the higher bacteria counts you have, the quicker that organic material is going to break down, the more available of nutrients for your plants.
Yep. Okay. So these big totes were also donated to us. They're full of the same thing.
Commercially made biochar.
So this is bagged biochar. We're assured that it was done the right way by professionals this way, so you can actually buy this stuff. It's just really lightweight. It's very dusty. I kind of tend to like some smaller chunks, especially for our greenhouse applications. So we have kind of a grinder hammer meal thing that we have used to make some smaller pieces, and that's worked really well, but it's super messy. You'll look like you worked in the coal mines all day.
It's true. We had students do it earlier this October. I think we posted some pictures of them shredding biochar. It was pretty funny.
So
they're all black.
We're going to head into the greenhouse now, and I'll show you kind of what we're doing with biochar in there and compost tea.
Please don't look over with all. This is the back area no one gets to see of the greenhouse, where all the tools and junk and leftover stuff and things behind the scenes of the DCB greenhouse and farm. Don't ask me why we have a boat. I have no idea why we have a boat.
The Wildlife Club.
That's why we have a boat. Our lovely greenhouse. No one ever gets to see it from the outside. The hemp greenhouse we were in a couple weeks ago. This is the fun part. So pretty and green and warm. Oh, it's so warm in here.
Perfect.
Lots of great things growing in here, as you guys can see.
We sold a lot of plants this year. It was really jam-packed. We've been planting like crazy on campus. Next week we're going to start in the gardens. These are some of the plants that are going to go in our planters downtown around Botno. We also do those in addition to the landscaping on campus.
Botno school colors.
Well, I wasn't going to feature this tree.
Our kumquat tree.
This is our new kumquat tree donated to us. These things are delicious. They are tart though. Woo!
Yes. Alright, this is where the magic happens with our biochar and compost tea. There we go, it's loud.
Noisy. Anyways, so we made this up with some students last fall.
Yep.
Right? Yeah, this is not some of the stuff that went through our grinder that I talked about. But this used to be full. We made it with half biochar and half rotting green lawn trimmings. The lawn trimmings had a good fungal colony growing on them. I was excited about that. We put some organic fertilizer in here also. So one really cool thing about biochar is that it's hungry for nitrogen, but it can store that nitrogen. So the organic fertilizer we used, I believe, was composted chicken manure, like commercially available. We call this charged biochar. So it's been composted with this grass. It reached, I think, 120 degrees for a week. It was really full of action. Let's see, what else did we add? Oh, some of this stuff, this microbial inoculant.
This is all that good bacteria you need in your soil to help break down all that organic material.
Yeah, we do like a good variety though, so that's another reason I like to add the grass clippings and whatnot, because you're going to get a good variety of things growing in your in your biochar. Anyways, the grass really broke down a lot. We've been using this all winter, and anything we pot up, any kind of trees that we pot up, pots that we've been making for around campus, that sort of thing, to retain moisture, add some microbial life. And I think we've been having really good success with it. So this is our, forgive its
the mess.
Ugly appearance, please.
You guys can't smell it either.
Oh, it doesn't smell
I
today.
know.
Come on now. This is our compost
Sometimes
tea
it
brewer.
smells.
I love it. It only smells because of what I add to it.
It smells like fish.
I like to add fish emulsion and some of our fish waste from the aquaponics system into here. I switch my recipe up every week. But there's this big, you want to show them inside?
Yep. I'm gonna drop my phone.
Okay, don't drop your phone in there. That wouldn't be good. There's this giant tea bag. I'll actually take this off of here.
That's why it's called Compost Tea.
Compost tea.
It's literally, we're making tea, a tea out of compost.
You can do this at home too, in a 5-gallon bucket with a fish tank aerator. You don't want it to become anaerobic. You want air, you want movement in there. So it doesn't become stagnant and stinky. You want it to become alive and healthy. Something you want to add to your plants. So you can't really see in here. There's a bar along the bottom that's perforated. Air blows out of there, and it blows through this tea bag. I'll just open this up.
Woo, don't get on my feet.
Okay.
You got on my feet.
Sorry. Because I lied, huh?
Oh, it is stinky. It's a good stinky though, like a live mobile swamp or pond, like with that smell that comes out of the slough in the spring. That's what it smells like.
There's some of
Life.
our biochar in there. So what I added in this batch of compost tea was biochar, some alfalfa pellets. Alfalfa has some plant growth hormones in it that are really great for plant growth. We added some beneficial mycorrhizae fungus and some, let's see, what else did we put? Fish emulsion and from the aquaponics. I also would put kelp in here when I have access to kelp. We have a small colony of worms, and we will put worm castings in here too.
Not the worms, just their poop.
Well, I have accidentally put worms in here before, and somehow they survived brewing around in this bag for a week. Anyway, so all the good stuff is going to come out into the water, and then we have this pump on the bottom here, hooked up to a hose, and we try to water our greenhouse with this once a week or once every other week, just to keep everything alive and healthy in here.
So what we're doing is we're almost making a liquid organic fertilizer that we can utilize on a weekly, mostly organic. I don't know if alfalfa pets are organic, but
no, it's not organic alfalfa. I would recommend organic alfalfa if you can find it though. I did call the company and make sure that I didn't have any nasty pesticides sprayed on it before I used it.
But it's a nice liquid fertilizer that we can use to supplement our fertilization here in the greenhouse.
So compost tea you're right, it can be used as a fertilizer. It's more about the biology than the fertilizer aspect though. You want to be brewing microbes in there, good microbes. That's going to keep your plants healthy. They're going to be more resistant to pests and disease.
And it's going to add all that great living activity to your media or soil.
So this leftover stuff that's been brewing around in here for a while, what I usually do is dump it in our tree pots and stuff in the greenhouse. So really nothing at all is going to waste ever here. Has anyone posted any questions?
No, does anyone have any questions? I think we're kind of getting to our end, so that just kind of gives you guys an idea. And the great thing, again, going back to that hands-on experience, just see like these projects. It was a student that helped April set up the compost tea brewer. It was students in one of their labs and practicums that helped build and create this great charged biochar, and then also our students get experience and chances to when we have to replace plastic at our high tunnels. Usually it's the students that get wrangled in to help us replace that plastic. They're the ones helping us plant in the spring, and a lot of our students do stay on during the summer and work on the farm. So there's this one of the great opportunities here at DCB is getting that hands-on experience, depending on if you're going to be going in as an entrepreneurial in the world or if you're going to be, working for somebody. It's just all those great things. And we do have a question from Stephanie. Are there other things we can use to make compost tea? I have heard of using nettles.
Oh yeah, you can. The sky's the limit with your options there. You can use compost right out of a compost pile. That's going to be teeming with life. Like she said, nettles. What else?
Chicken manure.
Oh, molasses is another thing I always add, just because the sugar in the molasses helps kind of kickstart the microbes. Plus,
and gives a little extra food to them.
Molasses is really high in iron too, and we always need that around here with our plants. So yeah, there's a lot of natural materials.
Grass clippings and pretty much anything that's high in nutrient you're looking for, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Good question.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like I said, students get that hands-on experience, and we love sharing those experiences with you guys here on our Green Thursdays. So I want to thank everyone who's been joining with us since the beginning, and especially during this last our May farm tour series. Again, this is the last of that tour series to conclude. Also posted this morning was a recorded video that I did. If you're interested in our horticulture program and how it's been kind of redesigned over this next year and it'll be applied this fall, get a chance. It's posted on our Facebook page. Get a chance to watch that. I walk through the curriculum and some of the courses and things that a student would expect if they started here as an Applied Associate of Science certificate student in horticulture studies or horticulture program. And then again, you always get to work with April, and we're always here, and we love to answer questions, so feel free to ask us away on our DCB horticulture page or any other of our outlets. We're always here to answer questions for you. We appreciate for you guys joining us, and we can't wait, hopefully, to see you guys next week. We don't know yet what we're going to do, but we'll figure out something, even if it's just a tour showing how things are going on in the gardens. We have a lot of new things being planted. And we have a pond that was rebuilt. Maybe we'll show that off next week. Over by the Nelson Science Center, we'll have all the koi and stuff ready to go in there and talk about how pond building works and some of the species of plants and perennials that you can plant around a pond and using rocks and sedums and all that great stuff. So yeah, we have lots planned for you. Hopefully we'll try to keep this up every Thursday throughout the summer. So thanks, guys. We'll see you soon, and stay safe, and we'll see you next Thursday. Bye.